And with that, like I said, we're looking for talented partners. So give us, give us your cards, and we'll be happy to work with you. Are there any questions? The microphone right over here. Just jump up and dash it out and stress. Yeah. You can shout. I'll repeat your question for you if you're inarticulate.
No, it's okay. So you're saying that there's a big space for huge really love against.
Yes.
Then there's 40% who keep against the wild and
Yep.
So what's your target demographic?
Well, when you're a social network, the interesting thing is, and again, that's what the press go, well, how many of your people are gamers? They're all playing. So the answer is that what you're going to find is that there's a certain high-level or soft gameplay mechanic that takes place on a social network that is a kind of poking each other for attention and recognition that can be really well monetized for everybody with gift and greeting card mechanics. What's interesting is those gift and greeting card mechanics can spill into gameplay and interact with each other in interesting ways that people haven't seen before. So I would say at a high level, things like blast cards and gifting mechanics can be very broadly appealing. And then when you start integrating those with gameplay mechanics where the things spill in and out of games in a social graph, you start seeing some really interesting potential dynamics. I'm deliberately being vague because that's another announcement and some more work we have to do before we really support that. These guys are going to be some of the first ones in. So the answer is that I think that you're going to find that there's a very broad audience for shallow play, which I actually believe will be very deeply monetizable. Because there's a multi-billion-dollar industry essentially for greeting cards, flowers, and Godiva chocolates. And if you can do a good job of capturing that way people express sentiments to each other in an interesting way graphically in a social network, they'll pay you well for it. We did a trial just with over Valentine's where we launched a thing called a super gift. And it was all you do is go to the Valentine's store and buy a gift. And the key was that when it appeared on somebody's wall and they opened it, it themed their whole profile page for Valentine's for the day. We had a 210% increase in commerce for virtual gifts during the week of Valentine's while we were running those super gifts. And that was a very simple virtual good with a little power. Prior to that, all of our virtual goods just were bitmaps. So the funny thing is I know, coming from the game space, I go, wow, there's a lot more fun to be had here in good gift-giving mechanics. And so I guess the answer is that I think that, my experience with Wild Tangent, which against my press, I go, look, Wild Tangent wasn't a search engine, it wasn't a social media company. All it was a great game publishing environment and a great business model. That got it to #1. And so the interesting observation is you go, look, if you do a great job of making really good content experience and you have a very good monetization vehicle, you wake up one day with a ton of audience as a pleasant consequence of doing that well. And I think that if we do define social gaming in an interesting way and we blend the deeper experiences with things that already kind of enhance, if you will, the existing social mechanic that people are participating in, your audiences will be larger and you will find you monetize everybody in a variety of interesting ways. Yeah?
What are you doing to ensure that nightlife's going to be more than nightlife than the church social conditions or Facebook?
Well, so we have some crazy notions that I'm not going to announce today, but one of the things that's an interesting difference is that you probably have heard that Facebook is really harped on going real identity, which most of us in the game industry, doesn't that feel a little contrived? I really don't I want to play with my real friends maybe, but I like having an escapist experience. The problem is that if your core business model as a social network is selling remnant ad inventory, then your business is to kind of out everybody's information in the public so the ad networks can bid up each other for that remnant ad volume. And so it's your business, Facebook's business really relies on getting you all public. And even if that has some social consequences, that's how they're making their living. And of course, I like making games. I don't want to make things that are littered with intrusive advertising in all places that have that kind of property. So one of the interesting observations is if you get really good at premium commerce, and you get really good at selling premium advertising closely associated with exchange for things of value, then you make a lot more money doing that, and you don't want to waste valuable screen real estate on low-value ad inventory. And then the consumer is your customer, and your consumer wants privacy and anonymity controls, and it's in your interest to give it to them. So I think that one of the interesting biases, without being specific about what you do, is my hope is, get good at commerce and premium advertising, reduces your dependency on remnant inventory, and that allows you to really try to differentiate yourself on the ability to give people a good set of tools for mixing their need for privacy and anonymity online with the social graph of having real connections. And I think that for gameplay to work, you really have to have an elegant way of balancing that. I will not claim to have any specific notions about how to do that well today, But, you know, give me a couple months and I will. Okay. Yeah.
Long-term, are you planning on supporting additional tech? Because you only mentioned Flash and Java.
Yeah, well, you know, Wild Tangent built the WebDriver, which had 120 million users at its peak, streaming graphic 3D engine with compression technologies for building high-end games and multiplayer with console quality. They got listed as Pest Patrol as the #1 spyware on the internet after all that work. So that was a proud achievement for me. So I've kind of developed an allergy to downloads after that experience. You know, the problem is, and I tried to, you know, I've been through a lot of generations of online games. And the internet's a very different place. It's very paranoid, for good reason. Security is a huge problem, and there's a lot of barriers to downloadables. And so the answer is that downloadables absolutely work. I'm proof of that in terms of success of Wild Tangent. But it comes with tremendous risk and cost. And if you don't know what you're doing, don't touch it. And so one of the things I tell developers, I said, listen, there's nothing in between. If you're going to be a casual game developer, an online game developer, either religiously stick with the technologies that live within the constraints of the browser. Don't even dream of leaving those. Just go, I'm going to make the best game I can with what I got inside this little window. Or, if you're going to do anything even sort of downloady, like using a Unity engine or an ActiveX plugin, then jump full hard into, I'm going to do a fantastic job of getting a download installed, dealing with all the security problems, dealing with all the client problems, dealing with all the privacy. You're going to have a team dedicated to it, and then you got to make games that justify that investment in overcoming the download barrier. The rough rule of thumb is your friction for a download is about 50% loss of your traffic. So if you think you can afford, if your game is so good that you can afford to lose 50% of your virality, go ahead and touch the download thing. If you're not confident of that, stay the hell away from it. You're losing traffic. Make a better game and confine yourself to the browser.
I also meant the PHP as well.
Oh, PHP. Yeah, I don't have any religion about that. Lou, do you have a problem making PHP games? Okay, Lou says fine, so it's good to me. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking downloads. It was a good thing to riff on anyway. I'm sure all you benefited from that, right? Yeah.
So, you want games that engage quickly, that pull the player in, and you want people to work within the box and find creative ways with what exists rather than saying, I wish if I had this, I could do a better game.
Yeah. If I had a download, I could make a better game. That's the
So
real.
you want old school arcade developers who've got a list of games as long as there aren't. And where do I hand this stuff?
I noticed you got a Rampage World Tour t-shirt on, so you're going to hand me your card afterwards because you got some of these for me, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The funny thing is that, you know, what's old comes around again. Whole generations of classic gameplay mechanics gotta find new life in social. So, you know, you're either a smart, brilliant kid inventing something new nobody's seen before, or an old goat like you and I who go, you know, people still like Breakout if we social media fly it. That'll be a huge hit. All right, how are we doing for time, Mike?
You're good? About 5 minutes. Happy
Okay.
to take more questions.
Yep.
We started that conversation earlier. How do you plan splitting revenues with developers, and how long is that period specifically?
We're going to kiss their asses today to get them on board and make very friendly revenue share terms. Then I'm going to design a brilliant commerce and advertising model that allows me to pocket huge sums of money without anybody caring because they're all getting rich doing it with me. Thank you very much. Wow, I didn't get glued for that. Press, did you hear that? I got away with that one. Yeah, of course, I want to make lots of money for everybody, and I'm going to be dependent on your content, and if I put you out of business, I'm not going to get good games. So I understand how that works. It worked real well at Microsoft and Wild Tangent, as some of you here know. Other questions? All right, well, thank you all very much. I hope to see a lot of persons. Thank you all for panelists here and developers. Grateful to have you all on board, so please, most what I've done here, by the way, is they've taken High Five hostage, because if they're not happy, they're going to get up and complain later in the press. So we got to make sure this is us committing ourselves to success.